Once they come in and find that you have, very expensive obviously to replace these lawns. We're at the end of 5 years of the restoration project. They appreciate it. The pollinator habitat is excellent down there. Had a really good year with volunteer restoration plan, so it needs to be redone. And I'm coordinating right now with the Columbus Recreation Parks Division, the management plan again, updated as necessary, and then implemented beginning in 2023. So we're going to be having a public meeting to discuss that here in the next couple of months, organized by Green Spot. That's it.
Just to understand, when you said utilities, I assume you don't mean gas and electric. Do you mean both sewer and water? Or
I mean sewer and water.
Both of those. Okay.
And those are on private property, and they're the responsibility of the property owner.
Between the house and the street.
Correct.
And the same for the water.
Yes.
But they don't line the water. That would be.
No, they don't line the water.
Thank you.
Huge liabilities beforehand too, or like have issues selling your house maybe later on once it's known.
Correct.
And then you have to report that. So
Because once it's known, you can't apply for it.
it's even more expensive.
Libby Weatherholt District sent some letters to all of the addresses in my part, been not targeted, named as potential addresses for any kind of blueprint. Attended the mayor's press conference at Studio 35, which wasn't very helpful. And I am working with Clintonville Green Spot at Clintonville Women's Club to help do some pollinator gardens. They are really helping us at the Women's Club, and we've gotten a lot of great ideas from the committee. And then on November 21st, I have organized a pizza meet and greet for my successor so that everyone in my district and anyone else can come and meet my successor, Donald D. Osborne, who will take office in January. Oh, I didn't say where it is, did I? Dante's Pizza, 5 to 7.
Hi, Brittany Bolton, District 5. I apologize for being tardy tonight. I am planning to hold a front yard coffee hour, something I do with our neighbors throughout the year on Saturday, November 12th at 10 a.m. So that's at 475 Chatham Road. We'll have coffee, and 6-year-old in my house is lobbying for hot chocolate. I wanted to make note that the mayor's office is doing, and maybe, sorry Beth if I'm preempting something from your update, but the Zone In initiative on the 10th is at Public Health. I think Columbus Public Health at 240 Parsons. So that's something to keep an eye out for. I know that we've had a lot of conversations about the new zoning code updates at CAC. Clintonville Area Business Association is like the events calendar, is hosting an after hours at the new Combustion Brewing in Clintonville on Tuesday the 15th at 5:30 p.m. All neighbors are welcome to come and meet with some of our local business owners. I'm also working with Beth on putting together a 311 training. And I don't know whether there will be room, I'm not sure exactly how long it will take, whether we'll try to plug that into an upcoming CAC agenda or if we will make that its own standalone evening meeting at the library, but just to help residents best use that tool. I had a resident who was concerned about recycling pickup, so just a helpful reminder, if you do have any type of refuse pickup issues, try to report that same day or next day. Because if you wait, if it's a 2-week period for recycling and you wait a full week to report it, then it's difficult to squeeze an extra trip back out to do the pickup before the following week. And a reminder that we do have the Soldiery and Charity Musees both really close to us if we need to do a mid-run. Also working on trying to get some slow down signs put up on Weber in front of Indianola at that crosswalk with our PTO. And one more event on December 4th, which is a Sunday. Experience Clintonville is putting together a Holidayville trolley drive, which will be really fun. And Clintonville Area Business Association is also going to help sponsor that event, I believe. And then finally, I'm excited to hear from the CRC tonight. We would love to do another hygiene kit drive for y'all this year. I think we had almost 40 kits last year of hygiene travel size necessities for folks who are unstably housed. So we would love to do that again this year. And I've tested, I have a light cold, so I'm gonna mask back on.
The past month, had a few questions about the green spot, and I'm kind of begun to do some outreach and do the letter drop and that sort of stuff. So people are beginning to become more aware of green spot, but nobody's.
Oh, blue.
Nobody. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah. Nobody's worried with what's going on, but nothing really. And then the mobility mobility and micro mobility press conference a few days ago. I attended that and the appreciation event that the Department of Neighborhood went to kind of have just a conversation about their district, and Jim was great about facilitating kind of a debrief and an onboarding for his successor. And I'm going to try to reach out to some of the other incoming commissioners just to see if they have any questions that I can answer or give you any help. That's about it.
You just said was one of the updates. I also went to the Aldi grand opening this morning with BJ and Commissioner Kroll, and it was pretty fantastic. There were, I can't remember, but I'd estimate maybe about 150 or so people in line when they opened the doors. Any notice was able to rile up the crowd and get them all excited to get on.
And she even stocked shelves.
Yeah, stock. You know, the interesting thing, I mentioned this to the district, just kind of told them about it, and a long-standing issue has come back up where through some areas of District 9 is not very accessible, where utility poles in sidewalks, and some areas have degraded in their quality. Obviously, the advertising benches are a big problem. And then, of course, walkability or accessibility on Indianola. So that was an interesting kind of side topic that came up again, and proves that there are people not even in the area that want to walk to these places. We always want to grant a variance for parking because we want to know if it's accessible and other things people can walk to it, like to the bike places. And then all of a sudden, on the other hand, the city doesn't give us the means to update these things. So that was a little bit of a pain point to the neighborhood. Bittersweet in terms of the Aldi grand opening, but that is the end of my update.
BJ White, proudly representing District 9, and as Commissioner Garrison has already alluded to, we had the Aldi grand opening today, which was a very joyous occasion, very popular, and people smiling ear to ear, and a line wrapped around the building. And it was just a lot of fun. People were stacking out in front of the front door, beginning at 5:30 this morning. So
The first 100 got gifted.
yes.
Oh, okay, I missed that.
And so it was a very good, very positive experience. And I want to thank Commissioners Kroll and Garrison, and who else? That's it. For showing up. Always good to celebrate success. Lots of positive things happening in District 9. The former billiards building at Meadowlark Lane and High Street is beautifully renovated, and it is a wellness center. The owner, and seeing that fully in operations. And then I'm pleased to see my remaining vacant lot. People here for that lot to discuss a little bit about what's going on in that vicinity. The Hadler Company is like to welcome Bill and his folks here this evening, and we'll look forward to hearing more about him later on. I've also been kind of helping out one for Beautiful, and although I cannot take credit for a lot of the work, Ryan, what is Annalisa's last name? Kern, that's right. Ryan Foshi and Annalisa Kern in completing the application for 614 Beautiful grant, and its deadline for submission is tomorrow. So we want to wish them good luck with that. And I believe that's all that I have. And District 9 would really like to see the advertising bitches go away.
Commissioner Pike?
Brian Piper, District 2. Really one primary update, so had a nice discussion with a constituent in District 2 concerning updates to the bike trail, so interested to hear what's there, and then I'll save any questions that she had for that discussion there. So nice discussion there. Second thing, I do believe that the updates for the trail then, the last public comments are November 4th, is that right? November 4th, so last comments for the trail, if you go to the website, make sure you do it by tomorrow because tomorrow's the 4th. And then the final thing, we'll probably just email Blue Spot. No.
Blueprint?
Blueprint, and just follow up about the lateral line, because that was something I brought up. And so their goal was, I think, 90% of the sewer is lined. And it'll just be interesting because this area is an old area. Most of the houses are probably somewhere between 100 plus to 60 years old.
I wonder how many of them they're not going to be able to do.
Have breaks, and like it'd be interesting if we can get those numbers from them. I know it's tough to get anything from them, but
Yeah.
it's just like how much at risk are people being placed at when they start to find out, you find out this information, and it's like, what do? Are you kind of nervous? And so just be interesting to see if a process could be improved or what could be done. So we'll have to follow up about that.
May I add something on that note? I recently purchased a home on West Canal Avenue that resides in Sharon Township, not in the city of Columbus. However, the utilities, the sewer and the water lines are still belonging to the city of Columbus, and they service those lines. I want to share with you that I had the water. I had some plumbing work. I was renovating a property, and I had a plumber come in, and they needed to turn off the water at the street to replace the main water shutoff valve. And in the process of doing so, the city worker showed up and had, I think, 8 keys on his truck. He tried every single one, and none of them would fit the lug in my water shutoff box at the street. On his 8th try, he broke it. And he said, "Ma'am, you're gonna have this repaired." So my plumber observed this the whole time, and I paid $2,500 to have my front lawn excavated and a new water main service line put in, and new box, and with a lug that is now compatible with one of those 8 keys they carry on their truck. I have filed a city complaint with the city of Columbus, and there is, just so everybody knows, you may file a claim with the city attorney to be reimbursed for these costs if it was caused by a city employee. I have not heard back. So I don't know what will result from that, but just know that I'm not hopeful. But there's a claim filing that you can do if something like that happens while on. But I'll keep you posted on that.
Commissioner Wyman?
The girls and I went to the premiere in Pittsburgh on Wednesday night, and it is a really good movie. I was crying, the girls were crying. But it's Deer Zone.
Girl dad extraordinaire.
Yeah. Okay, with that, consideration of prior meeting minutes. Commissioner Garrison?
I want to thank Commissioner objections or revisions or updates to her minutes that were sent out. So with that, I'd like to ask if there are any other motions or suggestions for revisions to the minutes.
Regarding what?
The minutes for
Approval of minutes
October's
for
meeting.
Pardon?
Minutes for October's meeting.
Sorry.
All those for, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Same sign. Motion passes.
I abstain.
Oh, okay, all right. Is that the only monthly minutes?
Yes, I need to double check. There could be a thing with the September's minutes, but if September's minutes have not been approved, then I'll bring that up at the next meeting.
we have a treasurer's report. Commissioner White.
Hi there, everybody. We've got a ledger balance of $2,281.04. We had no account payables this past month. That's it.
Great. And now we can do neighborhood updates with our neighborhood liaison.
Yeah.
Carmen McKinney.
Just go so you can send them an email. So updates from the Department of Neighborhoods. The Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Oratorical Contest is going to be taking place Saturday, December 3rd. And applications are now available, and this is for students. And we've had some great oratorical contest winners from columbus.gov/neighborhoods, or you can contact Gail Gray at gagray@columbus.gov if you're interested in more details of that. And I'll forward an electronic application. The city of November 1st through 30th, Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 3 p.m., excluding Veterans Day and Thanksgiving. You can take your pumpkins to the Division of Refuse, Dr. King pumpkins, carved jack-o'-lanterns gourds only. The next thing is, as we were talking about zoning, and thank you for everybody who did come to the building and zoning area commissioner training that we had over the weekend. But there's actually a really great website that came out of the training that we all went. If you're interested in learning about the building and so the properties in your neighborhood who are up for either council variances or building BZA applications, the website is, this pulls up the GIS map, it's columbus.gov/dev-tracker, so that's DEV, as in Victor, TRACKER. And so after the training, I learned about this and I said, oh my gosh, this is awesome. So you just open it up, put in your address, and it'll pull up. It's very easy to use. So those are my quick updates. And as far as we can still send it over to our city attorney. And I don't have updates from her either on that. But they're working.
I'd like to welcome Brad Westall with the Department of Recreation and Parks. He is the city's Greenway and Trails Director.
Something like I feel like, a special guy. But I appreciate the opportunity to come to the commission, talk about the Olentangy Trail. And I also have happy to announce Ed Herrick is here from the Franklin County Engineer's Office. And Ed will play a little role in this discussion as well. He's the bridge engineer with Commissioner or engineer particular project, because it's the last piece of non-trail on the Olentangy Trail, which is about 13 miles from Worthington Hills down to the confluence. You are probably familiar with the workaround, as we sometimes refer to it, that's been there for a long, long time, where it's on street, goes through Olentangy Boulevard, Delhi, Milton, and so on and so forth. This will be 12-foot wide, dedicated pathway. If you go to the next, oh, you know what? I'll come to that in a minute. It's 12 feet wide, from a little bit longer, in terms of, the waterway and how the Olentangy River goes. This will be a greenway dedicated, a path that you're used to for the rest of the trail. There's the route of it in red. To the right is Northmore. Those who use the trail infrequently or frequently, you're used to coming out there and you go on street at that point. It's a pretty well signed route. And this new path will take you across the river to the west bank of the Olentangy. North is up, in case you're wondering, well, what is northeast? North is up, meaning to the right. I should be a little more descriptive. And you will go up to what is the Ohio Health Campus, basically, at North Broadway. Heads east a little bit and down around behind. I've got some shots of what that will look like. And down behind the new campus there, I guess new is 4 or 5 years old, kind of nip across what is Cole's property. That's actually owned by a developer. Crawford Hoying is the name of the ownership of that. To the second bridge into Clinton Como Park, where you rejoin the trail. So it's existing on the right and it's existing on the left. Most people are familiar with, that route. This project began years ago. We've had a lot of requests going back a decade and a half to get something like this going. And it was rather difficult to find an alignment and all of that. I'll save the history for questions if you have any on that. The project will begin construction in 2024. There are some assumptions that go along with that. We still need some right-of-way, some easements and things to make all that happen. A lot of this is public property along the riverbank, and some of it is owned by Ohio Health, and some of it's owned by Crawford Point, or at the cold store. Someday they will redevelop that. I don't know when. If you would go to the next shot, this is behind the Ohio Health campus. When they built that, that's their, I guess I'd call it their community meeting room there on the left, and you recognize their office building on the left as well. That slope is where the trail goes. It's what we call cut fill. So the trail will bench into that slope there. In order to do that, we had two options. One was just grade it out. You see that an awful lot where, it's just cut. It's all done in earthwork. There's a problem with that. To do that in this case, all those trees that you see on the right have to be eliminated because it's it's a wide slope. You can't just pop dirt straight up and down. We're going to do a retaining wall on the right-hand side of this. That retaining wall will be anything from 2 to 4 to 5 feet high. It depends. It's all with a railing for safety. On the left side, on the Ohio Health side, will be a small retaining wall. And above that retaining wall, that last 8 to 10 feet by their property that they maintain, they've requested, and I think it's a great idea, to do wildflowers and meadow plantings of that for color. So we're working very closely with that on that campus. They knew what was coming. If they were here tonight, they would go, we support this. We've kept very close communication with them. So I want everybody to be clear on that. That's one example where what we do engineering-wise and construction-wise is very important in this floodplain, wooded environment. The costs have gone up on this project because you're doing walls, and the next slide, if you would go to that, I don't know there we go. Wow. Okay, that's going to look different. So I'm glad, thank you for moving that along. That gives you a little kind of picture of what that is. Please move forward, Brittany, you're doing a great job. Wonderful. But here's the thing that we added to this project as well. And it showed in the last plan view, so I'm sorry to skip around a little bit on you, but when you come over the Northmore section, you're in floodplain the entire way. So we not only don't have to do that, you can build it up on embankment, as that's called, dirt, essentially, and pave that. That's a big impact to the floodplain. It's a big impact to the width of the base of that fill, and it's a big impact to the woods that you go through. This is an example that we're going to use. Those boards are actually concrete planks. They're heavy duty. They can accommodate vehicular weight, so on and so forth. Again, that's a better material for here because you can get a much higher skid resistance than with wood. I'm a timber guy. I've done a lot of timber boardwalks on our trail network. They're beautiful. They're fantastic. They get old quick and they get slippery. We're not going to do that on the Olentangy Trail, so I wanted you to be aware of the material selections that we're using. We're not using the wood rail here. We're going to have a steel version of that. I can show you in just a second how all of that works. There's 900 feet of this stuff. I like it. We'll go around curves. It will fit closer into the environment. You'll feel much more on a greenway in that situation, and it's tough. This is supposed to last 50 to 100 years. We're not using light duty material in here. That's going to allow for questions. These are the bridges that we'll be using. These are what are referred to as clear span bridges. There's no piers in the waterway. Again, it's cheaper, quicker, faster, easier to put a pier in the middle of the Olentangy River. That's pure and simple, but it's impossibly whenever possible that we can. So that entire structure on the bottom, from left to right, east to west, however is 230 feet straight over the waterway. You don't catch logs, you don't bother kayakers, you don't bother anybody, you don't bother wildlife, and anybody that's in the, anything that lives in that riparian zone. It's a more expensive bridge, it's the right way to go. It comes on a semi in 2 giant pieces, so we will make a causeway. Anyone here environmentally that flows through with this, you'll understand that water for a temporary period of 6 to 8 months will have a stone road, essentially, in the Olentangy River to get a large crane down there to set it. We just did that at the Arena District for the new Crew Stadium, where that white, bowstring bridge is. I was looking for the term. Why this type of bridge? Because I'm going to return to the history of Northmore and Clinton Como Park. Those are WPA Depression-era parks. And I know that some people in here historically know what I'm referring to. That was the Franklin D. Roosevelt era in the Depression, and that was an employment workforce that built Northmore and built Clinton Como. When I say built it, that's why that stone wall is along the Olentangy River on the, what would that be, the east bank? And there's a marker there that was at the very front of this slide talk right here. That's in Northmore. Anybody seen that? 1934. I think that's something special. It's almost 100 years old for these 2 parks. We're adopting a design theme here that emulates what you may have seen timelessly 100 years ago, because those girder-style trusses, I love getting in the weeds with it. I love getting in the weeds with it. It is appropriate for that type of environment. There were different, easier choices to make. We're going with something that we think thematically represents Clintonville and its history a little better. At the ends of the bridge, you see the enlargement at the top is a pedestal or a pier. Again, that was typical in the 20s and 30s to do that. So at the end of this, it'll look fresh, it'll be painted, and it'll be somewhat old, right? And will weather for a long, long, long time. It'll have a concrete deck on it and so forth. I could go into infinite details because I love this kind of stuff. Let's go to the next slide. I don't want to hold everybody up because this is an important point. How do you cross North Broadway? There's been a lot of conversation about it. Tonight, Commission, you see this illustration here of what we will be building there. And I don't know, this is it's either online or it soon will be online on our website. Again, north is up. Ohio Health is on the south, the bottom of this photograph. The trail will come up from the north, from Northmore, on both sides of North Broadway. This is an enhanced crossing. It's not that way today. I don't have a before and this as an after shot to show you. Today it's just painted crosswalks. And you have a countdown signal that you press the button on. We're going to enhance that. And we do that because it's safer. We do that because we have an obligation to do it. And we have worked very closely with the right-of-way owners, which is the Department of Public Service. We had requests when we first came to public comment, please tunnel under North Broadway Street. Please bridge North Broadway all the way over. Or please do an underpass at the right at the existing bridge, right? 3, I would consider them everything from realistic to not realistic alternatives there. But we did study them. When you go to our website, if you're interested in why aren't they tunneling under North Broadway? It's because there's a trunk sewer that is huge, 82-inch. We can't get the vertical, and the tunnel would flood 10 to 11 months on rain events a year. Infrastructure, it's not safe, and essentially you'd be putting in expensive infrastructure that you don't get to use very much. Why not bridge it? Real quickly, that bridge would begin clear back up at Northmore and would land. It's that long of a height and ramping approach, it would end almost at the end of Ohio Health's campus. In other words, the project becomes a bridge over a street. And the expense, the time and effort, frankly, candidly, the ugliness of it would not be something that we would be able to physically support. The last option underneath the North Broadway Bridge we'll talk about in just a second. If you could please go back to the very first plan view. Thank you.
Sorry.
There you go. North Broadway Bridge.
Yeah. Stand up so everybody can hear me. Ed Herrick, I'm with the Franklin County Engineer's Office. That is our bridge, though it's in the city of Columbus. It's a Franklin County bridge. As most pass over this bridge now, on the south side, which is to the left of the bridge, on the Ohio Health side, there's a very, very large shoulder there. And what that shoulder is used for, at least what we've witnessed that shoulder being used for, is for people to get across the bridge. There's a sidewalk on the other side, but if you're not on that side, you don't cross. You stay on this side, on the south side. And so to connect the sidewalks that are on the west side to the sidewalks that are on the east side. And so we did that with a consultant. We found out that we could accommodate an actual 10-foot path across the bridge on this side. We have to reduce lanes to 11 foot, which we have been working with the Department of Public Service and City of Columbus also on that. We had to go ahead to reduce lane widths so that we can fit this on the bridge without increasing the footprint of the bridge. So that was the main intent. We wanted a connector there. And it just so happens that Brad and I work together a lot. There's a lot of bridges in Franklin County and a lot of trails that need to cross bridges in Franklin County. So we work together. And not only are we connecting to Ohio Health and the businesses that are up on the Olentangy River, but by putting in a 10-foot shared use path, we're giving an opportunity for the Olentangy Trail to connect into the path that we're putting across East North Broadway. The future of what happens to the east of that is up to the city of Columbus. Again, this is the bridges are what I'm in charge of. And so the funny thing is that the roadway actually that goes across it belongs to the city of Columbus, but the structure belongs to Franklin County. And so my job is to make sure the bridges stay safe. But in addition to that, it's to look into the future to needs of transportation and all modes of transportation, right? And so this is one for sure. The bridge was originally built in 1939. So the arches that you see there are 1939. In the 70s, they came through and they widened the street. If you don't go underneath the bridge, you won't realize that there's concrete beams in there. Those arches that are there that look like they're in really bad shape, and some of you may have called my office before and said, please do something with the bridge, it's falling down. I promise you it's not falling down. Those arches are old and they're holding up nothing. The reason they're there is for aesthetic reasons. Underneath the bridge, it might look ugly. From the sides, it looks like a 1938 arch structure. And they were left in place because of the cost to remove them at the time, and they liked the look of the arch. But what they accommodated with the beams was to be able to widen the deck and put a new structure on, which is in very good condition. So to Brad's point about crossing under the bridge, this was brought up a long time ago to us and asked, can we vet going underneath the bridge? And there's just not enough clearance underneath it. And so the question is, well, why don't you just replace the structure? Well, there's nothing wrong with the structure. And I mean, as far as, structural capacity of this thing. So there's little things we're going to do with this project to increase, do some maintenance on the structure. But in the end, this is a $1.25 million project for us to work on this bridge. We're going to do some stuff with the beam ends, the expansion joints, and as I said, put a shared use path across it. To replace the structure, though, in order to raise the entire roadway. I don't even want to start to guess what the cost would be because you have an intersection there, and you'd be raising the entire profile of the road, potentially. If not, you could put some sort of long span structure in there that, we're talking about a 10. And so that wasn't a feasible solution either, at least not from our standpoint. The county engineer doesn't have the ability to replace a structure that's in good condition when there's another option. So that's kind of where we were at with the crossing.
Thanks, Ed.
Yep.
Quick question for you on the shared use pass across the bridge. Is that grade separated? Is it up a curb height from the roadway surface?
Great question.
Is there a railing between the traffic and the multi-use path?
Yep.
And then is there a new railing on the open riverside?
If you're familiar with what it looks like now, there's a parapet wall, right, that prevents traffic from going over the side of the bridge. We're ripping that off. We're going to take a new parapet wall and we're going to move it to the inside of the trail, so it guards pedestrians from, it'll be actually at grade. This trail is not going to be raised, it's going to be at grade, but we're going to put a parapet on a concrete wall along the bridge. We have enough room by reducing lanes. We'll have a 2-foot shoulder on that side, but it'll be protected by a concrete wall, so pedestrians will be protected. On the other side, we'll still have a 4-foot shoulder and then the sidewalk. Two, on potentially matching something that they're putting in the bridges that are just down from this. We haven't gotten to an actual design on the guardrail yet.
Perfect.
Okay.
Thanks for coming, because two organizations are working right in the same project area, and I think that's a benefit for everybody. That was not intended as this got started. So there will be a non-top bridge enhancement. With that, I'm going to shut up, because there are going to be questions, and there's the timeline. Thank you. We are at the events, which is what you saw when you got mailers and an email, and construction in 2024. I'll stop there.
Thanks very much for the questions from.
The project started out, I believe, at $5 million. What's it up to now?
8.5.
8.5. Okay. And is
8.5 million. Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ohio Health and Crawford Hoying, of course, they're going to enjoy this path as well. Have you been approached about sharing in any kind of cost?
Approached as in two things. One, that it's private property. Typically, private property easements for the trail, because I told you there was a long stretch through there, is we pay for that. The collectively of this entire road, and that's expensive property. So there's a financial donation, whatever we can call that, to this project. From that, financially wise, there isn't any ask that's really been placed in front of either one. Some of these folks could pony up money for this, and I can't tonight say that anybody is or they're not.
And will the trail impact any wetlands?
Thank you. Two good questions. No wetlands. We rather linearly through that. On the screen, those trees are between 3 to 5 inch. There's what's called the executive order. You've got to mitigate those. Private owners have to do the public owners, such as this. Since we don't have large trees for the most part in this project, 64 placed, all of those will be replaced on the project site, either at Northmore, along areas where we've disturbed that we have room and space to do.
Through the crevices of those historic stone embankments in Northmore.
Yeah.
And if the city could, this
nothing would be near and dear to my heart, and I'm going to try to kick that into the project. You just said that. Don't listen. Joe asked, and I said, I love those walls, and frankly, if you walk along on top of those, you don't really notice if you're on top of one or not.
Oh yeah.
All right. Let's see what these do. We'll do our best to emulate as much as we can get out of there. I've cleaned them up before, and they're stubborn because those roots get in behind the wall. But we'll give it a good shot.
All right.
100 feet in through there. We chose that one because two things: least amount of impact to clean that, and we couldn't accept that. Again, there goes the cost a little bit. There is a veteran, I think it's a VFW memorial on the south side of Clinton Como. I mean, it's not a good thing to do. So that will be in place, and you will.
The efforts on minimizing and mitigating impacts to the floodplain, trees, by putting things on boardwalks, not putting them on sloped ground, and avoiding. The thing I was wondering is it looked like the abutments in that drawing are below ordinary high water of the river. They're being placed right at the edge of the normal pool.
Right.
Yeah, but that's below ordinary high water. Such a permitting requirement for this project.
Yes, and if you go to that illustration, yes, and we avoided it. And if I've got an illustration that, yeah, here's it, and you can help me out too on that, because it does these. We don't want to do a 401 individual permit that he's referring to either. And frankly, they mean you're impacting the waterway, so we've avoided a 401 permit in this area. Exist in truth, you know, to what we haven't done the ordinary high water mark. I know that because that's like one of those no-nos that we enforce on that. Good, great question though. Thank you.
High water, then it can be below the ordinary high
But
water.
is this considered a navigable waterway?
Yeah, but what I'm saying is, this is outside of where the boundaries of your ordinary high water mark are, that it can be below ordinary high water. What they don't want is you putting permanent fill within the ordinary. According to that, it looks
In
very
that
close.
drawing, it's very
Right at it.
being in the water. Thank you.
Questions from the public? Back.
Yeah, just going across on the bridge. So seeing this, and Brad, thanks to all of you for your service to the public and to the community, first of all, to bridge to set that up. I assume like the Henderson Road Bridge would be sort of the,
Correct.
yeah. So at that time, we didn't know that possibility existed, and also the improvements to keep pedestrians hopefully safe crossing. We need some street sweeping up there, by the way, desperately. But I wonder if the city, we're going back and reevaluating the design options, because there's about 25 feet of city-owned property on the south side, east in the compass direction. Extend that right to Milton and North Broadway, including the boardwalk, cut the cost of the project by more than half, help improve an east-west connector to get from High Street over to Riverside endpoints, further this northern bridge, when if the goal is to connect Ohio Belt, Coles, Roosters, all those properties to this part of Clintonville, why not just do that across the existing bridge and with I think the southern bridge makes it all anymore.
So one is always better than two is better than left. The issue with going south, or I'm sorry, that's not south,
East.
that east on North Broadway towards Milton, is that space to go forth. So I'm gonna say there's 20 owners. I don't know what the actual number
Well, the
is.
city, their lots extend, there's a huge
Yeah.
tree lawn there,
Well,
so
we
that is
still-
already city property.
Understood. Perhaps, likely, probably not. Another option is where those owners live along there, of course, crossing, and that would, and they can stop projects, you know, for a long, long time, and have and do, whether the floodplain impact starts to play a role through all of that. So what I'm trying to say is this. The long-term future, when there are redevelopment of the Coles and all of those properties over there, and the 1,000 people that work at that camp, whenever we use North Broadway and our alignments on that. By the way, Milton doesn't go away. Whatever there is there today, that signed route, paint, and you know, the 1,000 people a day who don't come from that 2 square miles, we're using that a direct route through there. So thank you for that. And we did kind of look at it, and you know, I know Ed's team pulled together the best they can for the existing bridge. One day that bridge will be changed out, and we'll all be using. I'll be using my walker. Thank you, though. I'd be happy to talk afterwards.
Yeah.
Yep, 3 quick things. So number one, excited about the updates to the south side of the North Broadway Bridge. So I do work at the Ohio Health Camp there, so I cut across through the alley that's there, and then I walk up that bridge, and so I was doing it twice a day, and so it was an easy,
Just take
kind
your kayak.
yeah, get in and out of water and things like that. So super excited about that. Second thing too is just interesting talking about the walls there. So on the cake, because I can see spots where it's like crumbled into the river, into the bank, and so interesting to see there, especially right on Brighton Road, right where that is. And then final thing, which is what the constituent wanted me to ask about, the no turn on red. That is net new. Is that right? I don't know that it had previously been discussed before.
Thank you. No. You can take a right turn on red now, anytime, anyway, whether you're coming out of Ohio Health or going on to the 315 on ramp. The no turn on red sign is whatever illuminated and activated there. So, and that stays on. We're going to use just like you hit any button. It won't instantly change. You'll be queued up at those plazas, which don't show up very well. We're going to, make that an inviting little happen right there. And we're also going to use what's called a leading pedestrian interval. It doesn't happen in Columbus much. Signal energizes, and you turn on, your green comes on one way, and my walk turns on simultaneously. From the East Coast, we have the leading edge 5 to 7 seconds before your green comes on. I'm already in the crosswalk, and you and I are visually connected prior. Columbus doesn't have that, and we're going to do that here. We also have a raised median in the middle. The 7-lane, that paver refuge right in through there breaks that up. It kind of halves that. Did that answer your question, Brian?
And I just want to bring it up. So the constituents' concern, and I can see it too based off of where I live, and then just watching traffic when northbound on 315 right there. And then with now traffic, you not being able to turn right. Their big question was, has there been a traffic study done specifically for understand that the impact of what would happen there? And I don't know that, and I'm no expert on traffic studies, so I don't know if you could take something that was done previously and apply it to a new situation. So the question was, has there been a traffic study done, and has that been released and available to the public?
We did a traffic study in April. ADT percent, off the top of my head, figure. And that's just due to the pandemic. Less people were driving. That's been happening all over the state of Ohio. So the ADT here went down a little bit. Will it stay that way? No. Yes, we have a traffic study. Yes, we're going to release it. It's a table of about 40 pages. So we'll summarize it down to my car, because I want to get on northbound 315 and so on. That's a lot of that deals with that. And that turn lane is shortened. It should have been longer, and I don't know, a bit longer to take a right turn in your car onto northbound 315 ramp. I personally don't have a problem with that.
So, Brad, a question back.
So I like the trail a lot. I still have 2 concerns. One is with how the trail connects in neighborhoods west. So one of the big things in the upper left corner, that's where the cars come from 350. They come at high speed, and I'm afraid that they will go at high speed into cyclists and pedestrians crossing the street.
The connectivity up to the knolls and places around the hospital campus. I don't have a plan for you to present about any of that. The park guy can do that. I don't quite know about that. The deceleration of that off ramp, I'll certainly take a look at that, because that's a very valuable.
It's very easy to not slow down and go on.
That's a legitimate question. Thank you. We will look into that. I appreciate it. And now and crosswalks and all that. I don't have any of this system in place there except push a button and away we go. Staying up a notch at that crosswalk. Any other? You guys have been so generous with your time. You've been very nice about this. Thank you.
Really quick, there will be no turn on reds on the other sides too. Is that?
Well, the 2 that are there are people leaving the hospital campus, crossing the ladder back crosswalk, and the people trying to get on. So that stays at that part. Did you mean another?
Yeah.
I don't know where you mean.
Yeah.
I think the answer to your question is no. But where do you mean?
Yeah, right there. So because people could be coming maybe that way too, and then people leaving the Ohio Health Campus could be turning right. Is that a concern?
That one's there.
Oh, okay. I just don't see the no turn on red symbol like I see in the other
ones. It's eastbound Ohio Health Boulevard and northbound North Broadway on 315. I hope I answered your question, because I can be confused.
There's no right turn there now.
Yeah, right here. So somebody's coming here and turning right. People are still crossing the trail here. There'll be a no turn on red here.
Yes, you see it facing.
That's their sign.
That sign faces Ohio Health.
And then what about over here? I guess
And
both sides.
these people doing it right on red, that's their sign over there.
Yeah, sorry, that's a trafficky way that they graphically represent those.
I was asked to keep time, so I wanted to announce everybody we're at 8:15. Okay, great.
Thank you. I appreciate you've been very generous. Good questions, and I'll be available.
Editorial on your One with the green bridges?
Just saying East North
Wow,
Broadway.
we're all roads.
It's my thing, right? That's easy.
Thanks for making it. Zoning and variance.
It's unfair to make me go after a presentation like that. No one loves greenways like Westville. Zoning and variance, we have two matters on, I think, there's, I think I'll put the explanation of the city inquiry maybe to the next meeting since you're running late. But the first one is the demolition waiting period. We have to go out of order just because it's short.
Yeah.
It's the demolition waiting period, 3810 North High Street. This is one of those houses where you have you can have residents on one level, commercial on another, and was just didn't quite meet our criteria for the quick waiver. I think we probably have about 30 days left. The person did show up. Are you here? Is he here? He did come to our meeting and explained that they were going to have a commercial contractor perform the work. They have mini excavator and dumpster, gravel will be there, and they're going to put gravel there. And we did tell them about the concerns about dust, and I don't think they, if I remember right, I thought he was going to be here, that they were going to be able to deal with dust is what they told us. We recommended 7 just because their garage is going to come down. The whole purpose of this is historic preservation. There's no. Well,
I don't understand. I mean, I looked at a website to see. Is it apartments that are being torn down? That's what I.
No, it's not the apartment. It's just the garage.
Just the garage.
Just
Okay.
the garage,
Okay.
and it's only the garage. No other building except the
Okay,
garage.
that's what I
And
wasn't
normally you
clear
don't
about.
hear these, but because there's a commercial aspect of this property, it didn't qualify for the
I thought it was a 4-unit building.
No,
Yeah,
no.
okay.
Sheriff Otero and I
Right.
agreed with that.
Okay.
So the question is, shall the application to expedite the demolition here?
Yes.
Let's do it quickly, please. Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion.
Then the zoning agenda was for BZA 22139, 122 West North Broadway to keep a new garage on the same line as other structures on the property to reduce the side yard setback from 3 foot to 0 foot. We recommended approval 4-1 with 2 abstentions. I was one of the abstentions. This is what they plan to do is to add a garage, to use their current garage as a workshop and put a new garage behind it. This is in a series of, there are 4 sets of units, 4 sets of houses here, 2 each. The realtors on our committee were very clear that we were supposed to call these single-family attached. Am I correct? They got it right, Commissioner White? Single-family attached units. And they were put in place about 30 years ago, 30 years ago. Diane Hayford remembered when they came in.
It's
There are
probably longer than that.
34.
Almost 40.
Almost 40.
Because it was just before I actually moved into it.
And there are 4 sets of almost pretty much identical units. There are 8 lots, and the line goes down the middle. I'm going to try to summarize the concerns and the neighbors' concern. Well, the neighbors put a high value on the uniformity of look in this area. The neighbors are being spoke that they wanted. But that's part of what they liked about these setup. They liked everything was all lined up, and it was that aesthetic was important to the neighbors. There was a lot of talk about what the immediate attached neighbor did, because this would go up, this would 0 foot setback. And I did speak to her after, one thing I said to the meeting, please stop talking for her. Let me, if she wants to have her opinion on, she needs to say it, and she did call me back. One thing she was clear is she didn't want to be the deciding factor because she loves all her neighbors. And so I assured her that her opinion would be influential but not decisive, because that's the way. And she'd like to be one to accommodate her neighbor if she can. She is concerned about having
about pulling up right next to it, not opening her car door in her lot and having it be right up against the house. She's concerned about overhang. I don't know what the law is about whether you're allowed to overhang I know Commissioner Garrison's been involved with this. I can't tell you what that law is, whether she could be allowed to do it or not. That was a concern that she had. The other side of it is the space that is using up where the new garage would go. Right now, it's basically almost entirely pavement. They're not using a green space, they're cutting down trees. It's right next to it. I'll make sure there's one. It was mainly, I remember, the reason they said he couldn't just move it 3 feet over or make it 3 feet smaller is they had the pickup trucks, they wanted to park 2 larger vehicles, and they have had a truck stolen from their backyard at some point. They said it doesn't work for that. If it's 3 feet smaller, it doesn't. I hope I have summarized, and I also didn't tell, I hope I summarized the neighbors' opinions on here. I hope I was fair to everyone. Here's the way it goes back. Now it goes back to its Chair Vatero's. Meeting goes back to him, and he will allow.
Public would like to speak when he gets his turn.
I did tell him when the meeting was.
Okay, then are there questions for Stephen at the commission?
I have a question. Just so I'm clear, I'm looking at the application. This is designed with the gutters overhanging the property line?
I don't know whether the gutters would go over the property line. And always with zoning issues, the zoning can say what can go up against the property line. Whatever the property rates are, I assume the property rates stay.
I can answer that.
Well,
Well, one of the things aside from that issue, I did want to add that, the walk between the house and Kroger in the alley is kind of, dark. And a lot of that has to do with the fact that I think it's just where people have their garages, where they keep their cars out back, and there's very long, deep lots, but they're very shallow. So you can park your car and then have to walk 100 feet over to your house. And I don't want to say I'm not surprised, but the fact that something may have happened in the back, sometimes it's a little, at night when you're walking down, especially this time of night when it's, or time of year when it's dark at this hour or whatever, to increase more people in, around the alley, maybe something that could be beneficial. At least it would have been when I lived there, to have more time, back kind of at a workshop or something like that. I would say that if the gutters were not allowed to be over the line, then they just would have to omit them and the rain would just fall on the ground.
It appears as though it's not just a gutter, there's a little roof overhang there. If they're putting the wall on the lot line.
There was some talk about, she did initially talk to the neighbor about the possibility of doing it at the same time, but that was more speculation. That was speculation and not certainly no commitment at all. There was other neighbors talking to each other. Maybe it would be nice if we both did this. But she did. When she spoke to me, she certainly had no plans to do that immediately.
It's unfortunate the younger isn't here tonight. I'm not sure whether they're aware that they need to consider a fire rating on a wall that's on the property line and not set back at all. That doesn't seem to be any indication in the drawings here. That they're not allowed to overhang a property line with an overhang or a gutter or rain work. There's always the issue of maintenance, how you maintain that surface, how you paint it, how you reside it, how you take care of it. And in cases where you have a wall on one, there's oftentimes an easement from the neighboring property owner that allows for maintenance on that. And it doesn't seem as though that's been a concession here. I appreciate the desire for a bigger garage. The average parking space, the required parking space in City of Columbus is 9 feet wide and 18 feet deep. If you have 2 of those, you have an 18-foot wide space. Let's look at the garage here.
20-foot open, 22 feet overall.
Yeah, I appreciate the desire and advantage of a wider garage, but I'm not sure if it should come at the expense of an encroachment on the neighbor's property.
I'm corrected. I thought the pink lines were the property lines, but I see now that it's just the scan, and I think the application is a little later. So it looks like the property line is here, and then this property line is right on the face of the building.
Yeah.
It's kind of, you can barely see it.
Any questions?
I'll just say this, and this is probably my ignorance, and so it's certainly not my area of expertise. And so the one thing I'm just curious about and don't know, and maybe it's been discussed, is like, and I know it's not part of the zoning variance, but do you have to have agreements? Like if it's a single structure owned by two people and you have to have agreements previously in place, like, yes, you can make changes to this structure and add on to your side. If it's a shared structure, like, would there be something that has to be signed before it could come to zoning variance, or is that just something that like happens eventually?
That might be a question of a condominium where there's a formal declaration of rights for both property owners, and there's a legal description of those two things. I'm not sure if this single family, what was the phrase? Attached unit goes around that without them being having to file as a condominium, which has an instrument which declares that. It seems like it's different. BJ, maybe you would know.
Yeah, no, single family attached is fee simple. It's a single family dwelling. You're responsible for the exteriors, everything. That's why you have a disjunctive roof line. Condominium is by legal definition a totally different beast. So usually when you do have single family attached dwellings, you do make a concerted effort with, that's just, and normally they're not constructed with bylaws and rules and regulations. It's usually just as a courtesy.
So we'll open it up. Questions from?
On your firewall thing, the building, they won't get a building permit if they don't need.
Yeah, right. I mean, they had other hurdles to.
And I always warn people with zero setbacks that I don't know legally the importance of a joint means agreement, but I know you're going to be asked about it. So that's something that doesn't. I always try to warn people about that question.
We'll open it up to questions from the public. Sir.
I live in the similar joint dwelling 104 up north, and one of my objections is that, as far as I'm concerned, this is at best misleading. The top is the east, and they show the property line as the edge of the garage. That's not true. There's room for a sidewalk for both the joined dwellings to the east of that, to have a sidewalk around their garage and a sidewalk around their garage. So the property line is not accurate on the top of it. Second, I don't understand at the bottom of the building, the new building, they've got 4 inches between it and the property line. That might allow for an overhang. But then they've got 1 foot on the same line and 3 foot on the same line. So that makes no sense to me. I don't know what that's supposed to represent. The reinforced concrete pad, it shows on the, what would be the north, the alley side, that's blacktop. It's not concrete. And what they don't show is that area in the back, it's the existing garage. It's separated from the garage on the west by a concrete block wall, period. If they built right on the property line, they'd be building from the middle of that concrete block wall. And they would have an overhang. Right now, the garage is, it's a 2-car garage, another 2-car garage. We're only separated by a block wall. All the gutters are on the front. The overhang's not an issue, plus you've got at least 3 feet on the end. So, this drawing is just not accurate. Personally, I don't want another garage, and when I measured, they're all the same. When I measured mine, it would leave 25 inches from the opening of the garage door on the owner on the west side to where they're going to build it. So you get a few more inches pulling out of the garage, but basically where the wall of their new garage is going to be if they build it right on the property line. It looks like they're going to build it 4 inches away from the property line, but I don't know what the other numbers mean. So, one, I don't want a garage extension in that area destroying the conformity. Two, I don't think this is an honest drawing. It doesn't show the impact on the property next to it. It doesn't show the concrete wall that's there. And the measurements are just off. So I object to it.
Seeing none, are there any other questions or discussion from the commission? Ready to vote?
I'd like to actually make a motion to table it.
Oh, let me add,
I'd like to hear more from the owner, and I'm, I can't support this personally because of too many questions about the legality of it.
let me add, he's never parked a truck in this garage. He always parked it outside.
There's a motion to table.
Chairman, can I comment on the effective? The motion to table, they can't go to in the past, I've had an attorney say that makes it hard for them to even go to BZA. If you reject it, it would be then the owner's choice whether to go to BZA or not. And if you wanted to revisit it next time, Robert's Rules allows anyone who voted against it to file a motion to reconsider the next time. That's just a thought about your procedure. So if you give an up or down vote, that would allow you from them. If you vote to table it, it makes it harder to do it. That's
why does it make it harder?
I had one.
He can still go to BZA.
I had one attorney actually tell me that he couldn't, that because the commission tabled his matter instead of rejecting it, he couldn't go to BZA. He couldn't go to the next step. I don't know that that's correct. I can't tell you if that's still correct or not. I can't. I'm telling you what I know. I respect. I can see valid reasons for doing both. And just say the effective rejection would be you could still bring it up on a motion to reconsider if you voted against it. You have a motion to table on the table, and I totally respect that you want to do it.
Do we know when they're due at BZA?
They would normally be later this month, but I don't know if they're on that schedule or not. That's yours.
You're 100% sure.
I gave you enough weasel words to make. I thought I put enough weasel words.
That just really sounds. They could not go to BZA if we tabled.
Hearsay.
Makes sense.
Hearsay.
No. I grant you that's a lawyer for an applicant.
I motion to table. There's a motion on
I have a question to a former chair or former secretary. Sorry, if we table it and I do not file a standard recommendation form of approval or rejection, then they cannot proceed to BZA.
Correct.
So that's the answer. Then he corrected you. That's the rejection. A yes or a no lets them go to the next step. A tabling gives.
But they would get kicked into the next month's.
Yes, they could go to the next one. It all does is delay things. And I'm not telling you.
It doesn't mean they can't. It means that we withheld our recommendation for a month. That'll stop them from going to this month's BZA, but they're certainly
correct
docket for December.
Yeah, and I was not trying to lobby against it.
Yeah, they can go later. Yeah, they can still go later.
So there's a motion. We have a second. Any discussion of the motion? Take a vote then on the motion to table.
Yes.
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 No.
Yes.
Yes. Motion passes. So that chair thinks.
Important announcement. The next zoning meeting will be November 16th instead of November 23rd. November 23rd would be the day when we normally hold it. It's the Wednesday before Thanksgiving. And I confirmed with the church that it will be available same time, 7:30, Wednesday, November 16th, will be the next zoning variance.
So the next meeting I would need to come to would be,
Here, it does not go back to the committee, it's before them.
December 1st.
what?
December 1st at 7 p.m. Thursday, December 1st.
Here.
It comes back here.
Thank you.
Next, we have a short presentation.
Of course, yes, I'll be very brief. Thank you all so much for having me. I have a lot of dates as well, as everyone was sharing. I was like, wow, there's a very busy calendar, a lot going on in Clintonville. So this Saturday we have Cranksgiving, and that is going to be at 10 o'clock at Combustion. If you've never heard of Cranksgiving, it is bicycle riding to local grocery stores to collect food for the CRC food pantry, so we're really looking forward to that. Our next event after that is going to be on Giving Tuesday, so that is always the Tuesday after Thanksgiving, and that is a big day for us just in terms of getting financial donations to support the agency. Then moving into December, on the 7th, there's going to be a chili cook-off to benefit CRC at Combustion, so whether you like to prepare chili or eat chili, please join us for that. And then the very next day, we're going to have our annual holiday fundraiser at Studio 35 on December 8th, where we're going to be showing a Christmas story, so please join us for that as well. We do have lots and lots of volunteer opportunities, particularly during the holiday times. You can access any of those on our website at clintonvillecrc.org. We're looking for lots of folks to sponsor families and people that like to shop for gifts, and we do the same thing for older adults as well. And then we're collecting all kinds of things for the holidays, additional gifts, food, and gift cards, so we're always happy to take all of those. Looking into 2023, we're looking for folks to sponsor our Senior Breakfast Club. That is always the second Thursday of every month, and that's held at North Broadway United Methodist Church. And that's for a group of older adults that get together for a community meal. And then just the last thing I wanted to highlight, our pantry at 14 West Lakeview. It has been particularly busy. We have noticed a very large uptick with the increase in food costs. So looking at October, we distributed over 72,000 meals. So just at our little teeny tiny food pantry, and looking back 2 years ago, it was 50,000 meals. So just a huge increase in the number served, and we're seeing lots and lots of new people, and just exponential need to access. And that's it.
Great. I was asked a question this week that I thought I'd pass along since I'm going to be here. The question was, when somebody comes to CRC's pantry and they ask for help, it doesn't really, does it matter at all what zip code, where they live, or they show up and they need something, and do they get help? Do they get questions about the zip code, or do they just get the help they need? And
yeah, so what happened when the pandemic started, Mid-Ohio Food Collective, which is obviously a huge partner, obviously we get the majority of we were in because of the pandemic to not have those zip code restrictions. So we do not right now. So currently anyone can come in. There's a self-attestation where you have to so you have to identify as being at or below 200% of poverty. And that's a government rule, but that's the criteria for accessing.
Well, thanks so much. And lots of things going on, and I hope we all take advantage of those. I know you're with the personal care items. Hopefully we do that again. Yes. But thanks so much for taking the time.
So that isn't a decision that we get to make. Mid-Ohio Food Collective, they have a database that is called Pantry Track, but that information is confidential, so we're not allowed to get in and see. Yeah. But great question.
What are your maybe top 2 or 3 zip codes that your clients come from?
So it is 02 and 14. 2 4s up there pretty high as well, and then 43228 is actually
so it's pretty low.
High up there.
What's the 2 of them?
I'm trying to think where.
West Side.
But we get people from all.
Yeah.
Well, it's always amazing how much of an impact CRC has with the resources. I've always been amazed at how much you get out of the fundraising that you do is great, but how much you're able to accomplish with that fundraising is just always overwhelms me. So it's just great to see that you're back, and whatever we can do to help, please feel free to contact us.
Thank you so much.
Last, but well, I shouldn't say last. Next up, I'm gonna actually defer maybe and ask Commissioner White to make our next introduction here for the Hadler folks joining us tonight.
Thank you for waiting patiently, everyone. Please join me in welcoming Bill Hadler with Hadler Companies, and I believe he's got Josh and Stacy with him. I'll let you go ahead and make introductions there.
Thank you very much. My name is Bill Hadler. I am the interim president for the Hadler Companies. I have Josh Bell, who is our director of construction, Stacy Longinette, who is our director of leasing. And I have a PowerPoint, if that's okay.
I think I have it loaded too.
Okay, well, just in case we have paper copies as well.
You know what? Well, actually,
Yeah,
I thought I did, but thank you.
It's in an email that I forwarded to you. Is that it?
It's like it'll be quicker to download.
Yeah, we figure it's a lot easier to do it that way.
Thank you, sir.
So my wife is likely battling my 3.5-year-old going to bed right now, so I'll try to be quick. So, as I said, I'm interim president of Hadler Companies. I'm here to make a presentation about 5300 North High Street, the former G6 hospitality building, all on behalf of landowner Dorothea Hadler and also future tenant Goodwill Columbus. If you wouldn't mind going to the next slide. So, just real quick, as you all know, G6 Hospitality, they vacated in late 2019, and we made numerous efforts to try and release this building. We, marketed it, we did everything we could. We really wanted to see if we could get somebody in there. Because, I mean, it's still, I know these photos don't really depict it as much, but, the inside, it's a nice building. I mean, we're very proud of it. We did everything we could, and, we just weren't getting anywhere. Call centers traditionally, these days, virtually they're going, staying at home and all that. And so we started to consider other uses, fitness facility, ballet studio, but we were really able to come to terms. Then we were also approached by a number of automotive retailers, based upon long-term feedback from Clintonville. You made that very clear, BJ. We decided not to consider these uses given the amount of these, on High Street. So we continue to market this building further, and if you want to go on the next slide, in 2022, earlier this year, Goodwill expressed a desire to want to, come in there and do an operation there. So we had a few meetings with them, and we decided, we wanted to proceed forward with them with the Goodwill Columbus. And so before I get into specifics, I'd like to introduce Goodwill CEO's Ryan Burris. He is going to speak on their behalf.
No, thanks, Bill. Good evening, Commission. Thanks for having us here. I'll be brief as well. Everybody knows Goodwill, our brand, because of our donation centers and retail operation, but we're a lot more than that. Actually, in the country, we have about 1 million people come through our doors for workforce development. 80% of those individuals have a high school degree or less. 60% represent some racial or ethnic minority. Tens of thousands of veterans, tens of thousands of people impacted by the justice system, and then our legacy here in Columbus is serving individuals with disabilities. So that's what most people don't know about Goodwill, and I'll tell you why in a moment here, why I wanted to bring up our workforce services. But we've been here in Columbus since 1939. It just came out business first. We were ranked as the 5th largest nonprofit in the community. We have about 1,100 employees. So our operation here in Columbus, we have 11 retail locations throughout the county, which again, that's how everybody knows Goodwill. We also run 2 other business lines. The second one is what we call business services. We provide custodial and unarmed security services to a number of the downtown office buildings. So if you go into a downtown office building or on Ohio State's campus, you see a custodian or services, what I call our people services, where we provide residential services, where we have employees who go into homes and provide care to individuals with disabilities. We have kind of a niche program called our work and community services. It's down in Groveport, and then finally, our workforce programs that we offer, and that's open to anyone and everyone, kind of all that we do at Goodwill Columbus. So bringing it back to this location, and why we're so excited, is this is going to represent kind of one of our first models here. We're going to have workforce classrooms there as well. Just a quick aside, in Whitehall, and hopefully in the next 30 days, we're going to have our retail location there. We're also building an art studio. Our current location in Grandview, we have an art studio there for individuals with disabilities. But that's kind of going to be our model moving forward, where it's going to help better connect when we're really excited to be next door, right across the street from that CODA substation. I think there's a lot of things that we can do there, the visibility, as well as being right next door to the School for the Blind. I think there's some exciting things that we can do there. So we're really Director of Properties and Facilities Management, but really appreciate this opportunity to present tonight.
Thanks, Ryan. So, if you mind going on the next slide, please. There's just kind of some conceptuals right now, kind of what we're looking at. If you mind going next one. And the next one for that. So, you know, one of the things I just want to make very clear today is, I've had a couple talks with BJ in terms of, she's been, kind of concerned about, pedestrian safety and whatnot. And so, we were kind of taking a look at the site. So on here, we had a proximity to the high school for deaf and blind, all in addition to, Tree of Life. And so whatever we have, ensuring that these plans for this sites will keep all the, local students and families in mind. So since the site is going from call center to retail use, we recognize the fact that there's going to be more in and out traffic going in there. And so, as you see there in that top photo, the curb cut, it's fairly close to High Street. So the objective would be that we would be, we propose moving that curb cut, that is close to High Street, and move it a little farther away from High Street to the middle of the site to allow traffic to navigate back into High Street with a little bit more, room to navigate, a little bit more room to ease. So you kind of see there. If you want to go on the next slide. And so obviously too, we want to kind of look at, how is this going to, affect traffic there. The last thing I wanted to do was come to you guys here and say, oh yeah, we want to, have a trailer come up, have a truck and trailer and be able to come in there and then constantly, I think it's only once a day if I recall correctly, but even once a day, having to use Sunnyside to back in and out, that didn't seem very appealing to us. So we devised kind of a plan here where essentially, we would have a whole lot of open space there to allow the truck to be able to easily come in through on High Street, come on Sunnyside, be able to turn around in our radius and be able to back up, all without hitting the sidewalk or Sunnyside. So we're, we wanted to give this a lot of thought. There's a lot of things we also want to consider. There's also going to be your dumpster there. There's still an existing wood fence there that joins the property line that will, give it a little bit better screening. So who am I going to the next slide? Yeah, like I said, we'll have that there. We will also demolish a small portion of the fence along High Street to be able to allow for pedestrian access directly from High Street, from the sidewalk. We really wanted to find ways to kind of keep this community oriented. We'd also be adding some new islands and trees to the parking lot. We'd also have landscaping enhancements along High Street too. We're very, very excited about this. Goodwill, I think they're going to be a very strong partner, be an asset for the community. And, I know there's a whole lot more details we go into tonight, but, we'd be more than happy to answer any questions you guys may have.
So basically, the building will stay there, but may have enhancements to make it look a little
So I
better.
believe we're adding a canopy. Yeah, we're going to be adding, I think there's going to be a canopy that's going to be added. No, if you go back, there you go.
Okay.
You kind of see
I
there.
see. Well,
I just want to say, they've been open and communicative and proactive, and I can't see any reason why District 9 of Clintonville would not welcome you, let alone the rest of Clintonville. I can't see any reason why anyone would balk such a beautiful enhancement to the neighborhood. I think it's going to be the opportunity to work with you on this.
Commissioner White?
I just want to applaud, it's unusual to have an applicant come in here and actually propose reducing the amount of asphalt on the site and creating some green place. That's exceptional. It's greatly appreciated. I think you've also understated. You've made some safety improvements here. I think you still have 2 curb cuts on Sunnyside, but you've moved it further away from High Street. I think that reduces the chance for conflict there. The 2 curb cuts that you do have, there's very little likelihood that those would ever be in conflict with one another. So I think it's become, it's safer. I think you softened it considerably. It fits into the community. The workforce development work that you do, I think it's a great mission. I think that the neighborhood will be very supportive of that. So.
I appreciate that. We still have a lot of property along High Street, still in Ward 9 that, we will, at some point, we may want to do something different, but I just want to reaffirm our commitment to keeping Clintonville a very community-oriented, but also recognizing pedestrian safety and all that. We really feel trying to take the high road and do everything we can to work with council, especially with Commissioner White, with some of the feedback she's giving us.
Maybe I missed it, but what is the use of the building going to be? What are you going to use it for?
There'll be retail, and then also there will be a collections there for clothing for people probably you're going to need.
There will be a donation window where you can bring donations.
So primarily
as a retail store, as well as workforce classrooms where we can conduct classes.
Oh, okay. Okay, great.
I want to say, I'm also excited about this. I didn't hear a lot about it before tonight, but I think everything you said about the organization is great. I know that we don't have a lot of time to talk about all this tonight, and I apologize for that. Usually I talk too much, so I take up some of the time. But I'm interested in making myself available later outside this meeting, to keep talking about this project, so that you don't think that we're just kind of railroading you through really quickly and not listening.
I'd be more than happy to answer any further questions you guys may have or any comments you guys.
Yeah, and if there's moving forward, if there's things that we can do to help the process, I think we had set a good example with the Aldi store, where as they work through the permitting and not only just the permitting, but the discussions with the city, with the transportation department, utilities, and that kind of stuff, and how that has impacts. Oftentimes, it was helpful, I think, for Aldi to have that dialogue with us, and I think we were constructive and helpful in helping the project move forward. We're not the city; we can't make decisions for it, but we have a chance to sort of maybe help lobby a little bit on your behalf if that happens.
Of course, this is a two-way road, and again, I know we're going to be approaching you guys here in the future at some point. So, again, we do reaffirm our commitment to that.
We'll try to top all these grand openings.
Thank you.
We are at 8:50.
How soon do you think you'll be ready to
Make a big presentation here. Well, it's my understanding that if I recall correctly, we don't need a formal review here. So this is more just of a presentation, you guys. But I again, if you guys have feedback or comments, I'd be more happy to answer them either here tonight or via email or remote.
Yeah, if you have a card.
Absolutely.
Thanks. Appreciate it.
And that goes for any other commissioners too. No, please.
Oh, thank you so much. Okay. We're good? All right.
I apologize.
I'm good by acclamation.
I apologize, we're running out of time. We don't really have time tonight for public comment. If there's anything that anybody did want to say real quickly, we'll listen to that, but if not,
The library is getting access.
We need to.
No.
BJ is telling us that we don't.
No, recent change, no.
Oh,
Okay.
Okay.
I'll send you an email, let you know, Joe.
okay.
Motion to adjourn.
Yeah.
I second.
Thank you.
We only got one day, BJ. We got till midnight.
Brittany, can I?